run after it myself, or am I going to trust him? And so it was like a death, because I really had feelings for Nancy, and I didn't tell her about it, and we were waiting and everything, and I was like, man, but you know what? It was kind of getting in the way of my love for God. And years went on, and this was 2003, so two years later. I miss her, Pa, the precious jewel of my crown in this life. I don't want to rush you, but because what you do well. I trust you, but I miss her, and I have to tell somebody. Who else can really understand me? How long, O Lord? How long before you give your blessing? Will you even bless me with so precious a gift? I don't know. I know I don't deserve her, but please, I promise with all your grace to love her as Christ loved the church and gave himself up for her. I miss her, and I want to love her, to pour myself for her, and to enjoy her, the you part of her. I want to cry with her, lie with her, die with her. I want to love you with her. Father, I want your will to be done in my brief moment of a life as it is in heaven. Give me your command and I'll obey. That was 2003. And I'm sitting there and I'm thinking, man, what's God gonna do? And then she comes to Moody, right? And I'm at Moody, and so it was my fifth year. I got this thing about school. I went 5 years to high school and 5 years to college, so don't feel bad if you're slow. I told that story in Canada, and nobody laughed because they all go to school for 5 years. Over here, we go for 4, and it took me 5. But anyway, I'm in my 5th year of college, and now all of a sudden she's a freshman, and I'm a senior. 5th year, senior. And so I'm seeing her every day. I'm like bumping into her in the lunchroom, and all of a sudden I'm finding myself going nuts. I'm like, every time I go to leave my dorm room, I'm thinking, is she going to be out there? Like, am I going to see her right now? And it's like hard for me to sleep. It's hard for me to think about other things. It's just constantly on my mind. And I remember thinking, you know what, we had waited. We had decided to wait. And I remember talking to my youth pastor saying, listen, I was 23 years old. She was 19. I said, I talked to her pastor. I said, I'm really interested in this girl. He said, I can see that. I can see that being a good thing. He said, but you know what? He said, Joshua, he said, you're probably ready for a relationship, but she's not. She just graduated high school. I could tell there's some stuff going on in life. He said, if you really care about her, why don't you give her some more time to develop? I'm like, Like, how long? He's like, well, like a year. I was like, what? A year? Man, I had already waited a year. I waited all through high school to date. Well, my last year, my 5th year, right? Of high school. Now I'm on 5th year of college, right? And I had waited, and I remember saying, I don't want to date right now because I know, man, as soon as I open, every time I walk in church, I'm like, I wonder if she's here. I wonder if that girl's here. Not even just Nancy, but before I even had feelings for something, being distracted, every time I would go somewhere new, I'd be looking around, I wonder if there's any, godly girls here for me. I know you never did that. But I realized that I needed to take some time to focus in on God, and that if I was dating at that time, that it would have completely distracted me and taken my focus off from becoming the kind of man that my wife was going to need me to be at that point in my life. And so this was the last one I'll read you here. This was something that I wrote to her, and I didn't really tell her it was kind of for her, but it was something that I was going through, and I didn't want to distract her either. I really cared about her, and I was praying things like, God, if she's not the one for me, then bless her with the right man. Bless her with the man that's going to love her the best. Do you really love that person? Or do they just make you feel good? Is it just really about you? And I was praying things like, God, if I'm not the guy who's going to be the best husband for her, then please, just blind her eyes for me and distract her so that she can find that right person, because I want her to be taken care of. And if it is me, then, man, I want your blessing in your right time. So I wrote this, June 8th, 2003. I miss you, my love, my beautiful rose, my gift from above. Almighty God knows the pain that I feel, these years that I wait. As rain falls like steel, I anticipate. Hear me tonight, my beautiful rose. While fighting this fight, my love only grows. I want you to know I won't rob you blind. Develop and grow, I'm giving you time. Don't struggle, my dear, against the Lord's will. Don't act out of fear. Just wait and be still. I'm waiting for you. I won't run ahead. I'll prove my love true and do what I've said. I miss you, my dear, my beautiful rose. I'm waiting right here. My love only grows. 2003. See, it's really a difficult thing to not mess with a girl's heart. I remember one time I got 2 dozen roses. And I couldn't wait to give them to her, but she wasn't my girlfriend. We didn't have a committed relationship. And I knew what would happen to a girl if I gave her 2 dozen roses. Like Nancy said, she would be like, oh, wow, for me, really? Oh, you know, by the way, that's 2 dozen roses right there. But I finally got them for her. But I had to wait. I had to wait. You know why? Because it wouldn't be fair to me to start messing with her heart and digging in her heart. In Song of Solomon, it says, don't arouse or awaken love until it's the right time. And I knew it wasn't the right time. You know how I knew? Because I knew I wasn't ready to be a husband. I knew I wasn't ready to raise a family. I knew I wasn't ready to take care of a wife and lead a home. And if I wasn't ready to do that, then why should I be poking at a girl's heart and saying, hey, over here, hey, over here, hey, over here? Where's that going to go? So, finally, in 2000 and, I don't remember, I'm running out of time here, but I saved up money. I was a college student. I was saving up money for a long time, and I finally, you know, the time was right, and I came over to her house. I called her up on Saturday. I said, hey, do you think we can hang out tomorrow? And she's like, yeah, like, okay. You know, she knew because we never hung out, just the two of us. It's always in a group. So she knew something was up. And I said, hey, dress nice. I want to take you somewhere nice. And she's like, how nice? I'm like, you know, like prom nice. She's like, what? You know, so her and her best friend are going all crazy. So that was how we looked on our first date. Do you know what year that was, Nancy? So people thought we were on prom. And so I took her to that signature room. You know how much it costs for a meal at the signature room? You know how much? A lot of money. A lot of money. I tell you, you can buy some serious video games for that much money. I'm talking over $100, over $150, you know. Okay, so I got real nervous when the check came out. I was like, oh my gosh. I was like, did I have enough money? And I'm like going under the table, like counting my little $1 bills. I was saving up because I wanted it to be special. I felt like, you know, this girl has waited her whole life for the right man to come and be that man for her, and I was rising up to the challenge. And so this is the 95th floor of the signature room. That's Lakeshore Drive in the background, and I thought it was fitting because I'd always wanted to build a skyscraper kind of relationship, not a hot dog stand or a shack kind of relationship. I wanted our relationship to go the distance, and that's when I read her some of the things from my journal that I had been waiting to read. And then I took her downstairs and we got on the carriage ride. Now, I was listening all those years. I was like listening to things that she was saying. She was like, oh, I've never been on a carriage ride. Oh, I always want to go on a carriage ride. And I was like, yeah, you know, I can't take her on a carriage ride now. I'm like, what's that going to be like? You know, so, but on our first date, took her, and I remember holding her hand in that carriage. And that was the first type of you know, intimate physical touch that we had ever had after I had known her for many years. And I remember how good that felt. It was pure, and it was right, and it was good. I thought, man, I could just hold this girl's hand my whole life. It felt so good. I couldn't believe that could feel so good. Something like that could feel so good because it came at the right time, in the right season, in the right way. And it was a fire that was starting, and you know what? I wasn't afraid that it was catching my clothes on fire. And so I drove her to Navy Pier, and I built her a beer. I remember when she was talking about Build the Beer. She said, I like Build the Beer. Nobody ever built me a beer. And I was like, who's Build the Beer? I don't know who Build the Beer is. I had to look it up before I figured out it was like build her a teddy bear and put a little heart and all that stuff. And we, you know, we had a dating relationship that went on for about 2 years before we got married. And we were working through things, and we weren't pushing and rushing, and it was hard. It was difficult. We had standards in our relationship, you know, to keep the line pure, so that on our wedding night could be the first day that we had that type of intimacy, and it was beautiful. And I praise God for that. And it was not an easy thing, but I had a lot of encouragement in my life, and I had a vision for the type of relationship that was honorable, the type of relationship that we could be proud of telling our kids about, the type of relationship that would leave a legacy. And I knew that if I had that type of a vision of that kind of a marriage, and I believed, and I started to see other marriages around me, and I started to get a vision for marriage, that I knew my dating relationship would have to be a certain way. And so I'm asking you, do you have a vision for marriage? This was our wedding day, and that was a good kiss. Let me tell you, that was a good kiss. First one that we were able to have where it was like, this is it, it's holy, it's good, it's pure, it's ready. I did kiss her before that, you know. I tried not to. It was tough. It was really hard. And I felt guilty about it. I was like, so this was our first kiss. I could really give it to her, you know. And yeah. So this is our wedding day. And my question to you is that, are you building this kind of a relationship? Is this the kind of future that you want for your family, for your kids? If you think that you didn't start it already, you're fooled. You've already started it. The decisions that you're making right now are affecting you. And you can have this kind of a relationship that affects a lot of different people. And I've seen a lot of different kinds of relationships. I've seen dating relationships where all of a sudden you find out somebody's dating, you're like, wow, you guys are dating? And there's no celebration for that. It's like, people are like, oh, okay, you know. And then I've seen the kind of dating relationships where they do it right. They take the time, they go about it in a godly way, they get the input of their families, you know. And it's like people celebrate that. People are excited about that. And I'm really, I've seen the difference. And I believe that if you would catch a vision for letting God be your solid rock and saying, I'm believing that He's going to bring me into the future. He's going to bring me to the right place. That we're going to have the kind of relationship. In Hebrews chapter 13 verse 2 it says, marriage is to be honored by all. It's just a very, very short verse. And that word honored is only used 2 times in the entire Bible. And the other time it's used is in Peter, when Peter is describing the precious blood of Jesus by which we were saved. It's the only other thing he compares it to. He says marriage should be held in a high, high, high place. He puts it in the same category, the same reference as the precious blood of Jesus that saves us. And he says people need to hold it up. And I want to tell you that even though our country and even though our world has got a lot of trouble right now, I see a generation, and I'm wrapping up with this, Nathan. I see a generation, I'm experiencing young men and women who are taking a stand to do love on purpose, to do love God's way. And I told you 10 years ago, I started youth pastoring in this location. And I've seen young people, I've stepped into the office with them and with their parents, and I've said, listen, you're in a relationship right now, and I could just be honest with you. You're not doing it God's way. You're not honoring Him. There's clear things in the Scriptures that you're violating, and you're going to regret it. And I've had people who have listened to me and turned and gone on to have really healthy relationships, and I've seen other people who have said, you know what, we're going to do it however we want. I've seen a lot of those people go on to have, premature pregnancies, premature relationships, start moving in and shacking up and just starting things in a crooked way. God can redeem all that. He really can. But it just starts you off with such a deficit in your life. You got so many extra problems to deal with. It's just not, when you can change it and you go back and do it a different way, you can. And this is your opportunity to do that. And so I hope that you will be one of those young men and women who've got a vision for your future, who believe that God can really do that with you. I hope that you're inspired, and Nathan's going to equip you here with a tool, an opportunity at this moment for you to take a step in the right direction, to say, you know what, I've got a vision for a godly marriage so that my dating relationship is going to be in line with that. I'm not going to date any guy that I wouldn't be interested in marrying. I'm not going to date any girl that I wouldn't be interested in marrying. And I'm not going to date when I'm 14. I ain't ready to have no kids, man. I ain't ready to get a job and pay a mortgage and get a car note and like pay off my wife's medical bills. I'm not ready for all that. Then don't provoke love, because it's like a domino effect. It's coming for you. And until you've got a safe place to put that fire, don't strike that match. Fire's good. It's real good. But you got to put that in a safe place.